Hi and welcome to our motorcycle tire guide. In this guide, we're going through all kinds of things about motorcycle tires, things you want to know if you're looking at buying a set, but things you may also just want to know to increase your motorcycle IQ. So starting off, we're going to look at the different types of motorcycle tires. I'm here with a sport tire right now. And as with sport tires, you're going to notice a few things right off the bat. For one, you're going to notice that they have quite an angular profile. Now that's for a good reason. It's because sport bikes really like to lay down in corners, and with that angular profile, you're not going to be fighting the bike to do that. It'll be pretty eager to lay itself down. The other thing you'll notice with a sport tire is that sometimes they will have a firm belt right along that top side of it. That's going to improve your mileage if you're on those straightaways and also improve longevity there. Now they do that because the compound is often very soft near the outside of the tires. And again, that's going to be for giving you that really good grip as you angle into the turns with it. Sport tires are more often radial-ply tires. Actually, almost invariably, they are going to be a radial tire. That's for a few reasons. Radial tires have the plies going straight across from one end of the tire to the other. So they're going at 90 degrees to the direction of the tire movement itself. That's going to be better for heat dissipation on the tire, which is important for sport bike tires, because on sport bikes, you do get those really extreme heat cycles as you're riding really aggressively. So if the heat's going to dissipate out of the tire better, that's a good thing. The other thing radial-ply does is it allows you to have a different height of the tire when compared to the width of the tire. So with radial-ply tire, you can have a really, really low profile tire, very low height, but you'll also be able to have a very wide tire. As we know, that results in really good tight cornering. It results in a lot of grip and generally quite twitchy feel, which is good for sport bikes because you want that real precise handling on your motorcycle there. Moving on to something like a touring tire, we're going to notice a lot of the same things, especially if you're in the sport touring category. So by and large, it'll look quite similar. A few things you may notice the differences on is that the profile won't be quite as angular. It'll be a little bit flatter on the top. That's going to make it more comfortable for that straight line riding with that. The other thing you'll notice with touring tires, especially if it's spec'd on a really heavy touring bike, you may notice that it'll have a bias ply construction or even a belted bias construction. What that means is that the plies on the tire go angularly from one end of the tire to the other, and they'll alternate like that. And with that, you get a couple things. For one, you're going to have a height of the tire that's quite high, oftentimes quite similar to the width of the tire, so a really high profile wheel. That's going to do wonders for your suspension. With all that room to play with, when you go over bumps, it's really going to be able to suck those up. In general, bias ply tires are a little bit softer, a little bit flexier, so again, that's going to make it more comfortable on those long rides. They can also take a lot more weight than radial tires in general, so that's why you may notice those on a touring tire. Moving from there, we can go to something like cruising tires. Might look something like this. This is a bias, it's actually a belted bias tire, so we can see that it has that really high profile. So this is going to be great at soaking up those bumps. It's going to be a very comfortable tire to ride on. And this is commonly what you might see on a cruiser. But I would be hesitant to call cruiser tire really a category at all because cruisers are so variable. You get a lot of them like on choppers. They want that really wide rear wheel with quite a low profile just for style reasons. So then you're going to look for that really wide tire with that low profile radial construction for that bike. That's basically a one-off. You won't see that on any other bike except for those chopper cruisers. With other kinds of cruisers, you know, the really big, heavy ones or the really long distance, comfortable ones, that's going to be really similar to a touring bike. So you're basically going to see a touring tire on a bike like that. With other cruisers that are quite a bit more sporty, you're going to really want to edge into corners, and they'll spec a tire that's basically like a sport touring or sport tire. So again, what I'm saying is with a cruiser tire, I can't really tell you what to expect because it depends a lot on what type of cruiser you have. What I would really recommend is going to the original equipment manufacturer, the maker of your motorcycle, and seeing what they spec'd on that motorcycle as factory equipment. Because every motorcycle rolls off the factory with tires on it, and it's going to be a tire that engineers decide is good for that bike. So you can find out what that was by looking online or calling our customer service. That's going to give you a good hint as to what you should look for from a cruiser tire. Moving on there, we're going to go to an ADV tire. This is an ADV tire. It's a front tire. That's why it's so much skinnier. And right away, we can notice a few things about this. We have a knobby tread pattern. Not as much as you would see from a true motocross off-road or even a dual sport tire, but there is a bit of height there on the knobs. And And that's of course because ADV tires have to handle a wide variety of terrain. They got to be good on the pavement, they got to be good on the dirt, the sand, the mud. They have to handle all kinds of terrain, and this knobby structure is really going to allow you to do that. On top of that, it's quite a high tire. It's going to soak up some of those bumps. You'll also notice that ADV tires are often quite a hard rubber compound. That's because they go for a lot of miles. People ride their ADV bikes for huge distances. People circle the globe on those kind of things. So they do have to be quite durable. They have to be quite comfortable on the long straightaways, comfortable for long days in the saddle. They also have to have quite a high load capacity because a lot of people ride their ADV bikes with big side cases, with big tank bags on them. They'll put extra water, extra fuel, tents, tent poles, that kind of things in there. So you do want a really high load capacity with a lot of those things. ADV tires are really on a big spectrum. You'll see some of them that don't even have knob structures. They just really have very deep grooves. So it looks a lot like a regular road tire, but with very deep grooves on it. With that, you're looking at an ADV bike that's really meant to be on the road and only does some off-road terrain. You may notice on those types of tires as well that they even have an angular profile, so they'll be eager to edge into corners. So that's really an on-road style ADV tire. On the other side of the spectrum, like this one, you do have that knob structure, so you'll notice that it is better for off-road. So that's really meant for kind of a 50-50 balance on-road and off-road. Even still, the knobs are quite low. It's not like you would see with a motocross tire, so you will have some grip on the road. It won't be super loud on the highway, but you will have just enough tread height to give you that grip that you need off-road. From there on, we could look at something like a dual sport tire. So with a dual sport tire like this, what you're seeing is basically an off-road or a motocross tire, but it's going to be street legal. So with this, you notice you have that really high tread pattern. It's very, very knobby. And with that, you're going to get a lot of grip in the soft terrain. But like I said, it's street legal, so you can ride this on road. Some dual sport tires will tend more towards an ADV tire. You'll notice that the tread knobs will be closer together and a little bit lower. That means it's going to be better on road. It's going to be quieter on the highway. It's going to give you more grip in those corners. But of course, you're going to be sacrificing grip when you get onto the soft stuff with a tire like that. When you move into a proper off-road or motocross tire, it doesn't have to be street legal at all. You're loading your bike up in the back of your truck. It's only seeing the pavement from a trailer bed. So you really don't have to worry about being street legal. You can have it be really, really knobby, very aggressive for that off-road terrain. You'll also look for the knobs to extend around the sidewall of the tire. That's going to be really good for motocrossers because they really like to angle that motorcycle down when they come into a fast burn. So if you have tread knobs coming out the side of your tire, that's going to be very good for that. Motocrossers should think, all motocross tires are going to be quite knobby because they're off-road tires and they don't have to be street legal, but they still need to think about what terrain they're riding. If you're riding really, really soft terrain like sand and mud, you are going to want a very, very high knob, and you're going to want very few knobs that are quite spaced far apart. And that's going to act like a scoop in that soft terrain to generate a lot of movement forward, and the spaces between those knobs are going to be great because the mud and the sand is going to fly out of there, so they're going to be self-cleaning. So that type of tread pattern is what you're going to look for a motocross tire that's supposed to be good on soft terrain. On the flip side, if you ride a lot of hard terrain with your off-road bike, if you're on packed dirt, if you're on gravel roads a lot, you'll look for tread knobs that are a little bit more clustered, a little bit closer spaced together. That's going to give you more surface area, which is going to give you more grip. And because the terrain isn't all that soft, you don't have to worry about it really getting in between the cracks, getting stuck in your tire, and basically taking away your traction with that. That's basically it for the different types of motorcycle tires. Later on in this guide, we go into all kinds of other things with coating schemes, low capacity speed ratings, all that stuff. So please keep watching if you have more questions. Thank you very much for following us this far.